So you've added a UV lamp to your leopard gecko's enclosure, but you never see it use it. Thinking of removing it? Before you do, keep watching. Hey guys, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to explain why your leopard gecko may not be using its UV lamp, how to make changes that may encourage it to use it more, and also how in some cases it might actually still be benefiting from it even without actively basking. So let's begin with the basic fact that every gecko is slightly different. Every gecko's tank, the way it's set up, the place it's positioned in a house may be different, and these factors may change the way your gecko acts. For example, if they're in a glass tank where they're very overexposed and they are set in a room that's very busy and loud and people are always coming and going, your gecko may be more likely to hide away as much as possible, and it may end up actually utilising its UV lamp when nobody is around, most likely dusk and dawn. So firstly, in the wild, leopard geckos are known to openly bask at dusk and dawn, when the sun is low, the UV index is low, and also it's probably a good way to avoid predators. So naturally, they aren't the type of reptile basking openly throughout the day like a diurnal species such as a bearded dragon. However, they have been observed in the wild, like in captivity, partial or cryptic basking where they'll expose a toe, a tail, their head, a whole leg to the sun, or in captivity to the lamp. Leopard geckos have thin skin, so they don't have to risk their lives fully exposing their bodies to potential predators in the wild to obtain the correct amount of UVB they need to produce their own vitamin D3. If you do see them from time to time full body basking, like I have seen with Maui, this could be because they're creating sort of a background store of vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is stored in the body, so really what they could be doing is taking that big risk of exposing themselves to potential predators, because they don't know, a hawk could fly past, and they could do this so afterwards for longer periods they can hide away and they don't have to come back out and top that up. It's not like vitamin C that you have to take every day because it's water soluble and it'll just get out your body. This will store in their bodies, so they don't need to constantly be topping that up. Every gecko is different, and ultimately they know how much or how little vitamin D3 they need at any given time. They are hardwired to know this. They've done this for millions of years. Like, fun fact, apparently some of the earliest geckos emerged around 180 to 225 million years ago, which is wild. But what I thought I'd do is compile a little list of reasons your gecko may not be using its UV lamp. So number one, the first thing you can think about is, are you using a timer on your UV lamp? So I would definitely recommend using a timer so you can have your UV come on same time most days. You can change it season by season, but 10 to 12 hours a day. The reason for doing this is if you're just getting up at different times of the day, kind of forgetting to turn it on and off, you're kind of messing up your gecko's day-night cycle. They haven't got a consistent routine. They don't know when it's sleep time, when to bask, when to explore the tank. So I'd highly recommend getting that UV lamp on a timer. I'll leave a link to the smart plugs I use below. Number two, if your gecko's setup has a UV lamp on one side and the heater on the other side, then your gecko's having to choose between heat and UV. Now we want to recreate the sun, and all of those wavelengths come from the same direction. So you not only want to make that heat gradient in your tank, so you've got your warm side and your cool side, but you also want a light gradient. So what you want to do is your UV, your LED, your halogen, your heater, whatever it is, all on one side. They're meant to recreate the sun. So you have that light and warm area, and you have that cool and shaded area. Number three, if you've set up a UV lamp but there's no hide underneath it, just an open space, this kind of forces your gecko to either full body bask or not bask at all. And if there's one thing you should know about leopard geckos, is they kind of prefer to partial or cryptic bask most of the time. So I would encourage you to provide a decent hide under that lamp where they can lay out on top of it and fully bask if they want to, but also they can just pop a toe out or a tail. Slate is great for this because I know they love to wedge themselves between it and partial bask. Number 4, if you haven't got your UV lamp set up at the correct distance, you could be over or under exposing your gecko. So for example, a decent brand should tell you what distance should be between your lamp and the animal at basking to achieve the appropriate UV index. So a leopard gecko requires a UV index of 1 to 2. Now I use a Shade Dweller 7% UVB by Arcadia Reptile. Not only does their website show that you should mount this about 10 to 15 inches away from the animal at basking, but the packaging also shows there should be a minimum distance of 10 inches. Now, too close, you run the risk of exposing your gecko to a higher UV index that would harm them. Therefore, they would be more reluctant to expose themselves to that. Too low, and they won't even feel the benefits of the UV. So in this case, you could be providing the UV lamp. You think, I don't have to provide synthetic D3. They're getting it naturally through this UV lamp. But if they can't reach the UV index that they need, they can't produce the vitamin D themselves, and then you could run into more issues. So make sure you got that distance correct, and if you are using a lower vivarium, so you have to mount it inside, there's less than 10 inches, then you might want to opt for the 2.4% Shade Dweller. Number 5, if you're using vitamins and minerals that contain a large amount of synthetic vitamin D3, your gecko may not have a use for the lamp. Now, it will certainly benefit from the UVA from the lamp, but since UVB helps them naturally produce vitamin D3 like the sun, and vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, so it is stored in the body, too much of it can be detrimental to your gecko's health. Now, if you're not quite sure whether the vitamins you have contain synthetic D3, if they say D3 on it, that's synthetic because you get it naturally from the sun or exposure to a UV lamp. So, yeah, if you are providing that, obviously you are just dosing your gecko with synthetic D3. And what's really interesting about this is if you ask a company what dosage a leopard gecko needs versus like an iguana, for example, they probably couldn't tell you. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that the dosage or percentages in these vitamin tablets are based on like sheep. I think I read that somewhere. But basically they couldn't tell you exactly what a leopard gecko needs versus a bearded dragon or a tegu or an iguana. So you are kind of running the risk of over or under supplying your gecko with synthetic D3. So when you add a UV lamp, they probably have already stored enough of this synthetic D3 that they don't have the use for the UVB. What I've found though is once I use Earth Pro A, Calcium Pro Magnesium and a UV lamp, it takes away that guesswork, it puts the gecko in charge, and it makes things so much more simpler. Number 6, now this next point is pretty simple. Check what bulb you're using and how powerful it is. So many starter kits come with like a standard bulb that may not even be suitable for leopard geckos, and unfortunately a lot of people will get these kits, plug it in, and hope for the best. Please research what bulb you're using, and don't sort of get a starter kit and plug and go. A lot of these kits come with bulbs or coil bulbs with no real instructions. Like most decent brands will tell you that, you know, a decent lamp needs to be replaced every 12 months. Some people who buy these kits don't even know that. They could have these lamps just going on for years and they still think their gecko is getting exposed. Now personally, fluorescent tube lamps I find to be far better. Their exposure is usually steady, reliable and evenly spread. I would say avoid coil or spiral UV lamps. These can sometimes be far too intense, in a very small projection, and cause eye issues and even burns. And the final reason your gecko may not be using its lamp, and there are probably many more reasons, so if you can think of any, leave them in the comments below. But it could be that it doesn't like something in its enclosure. Now, Maui's a great example of this. So basically, when I was setting up his tank, I used Diego's old large hide to build up this area under the UV lamp because the tank is 2 foot high. So we need to build up a lot. Now, I did wash this hide, I thought quite thoroughly, before giving it to Maui. However, turns out I think leopard gecko pheromones are quite strong, because I noticed that Maui, once he moved in, he avoided this hide. Like, he was not going in that cave. He would hide in his cold hide all the time. He would kick dirt and fill up the entrance of the cold hide and stay there all day and sometimes all night. Maybe popping out to get a bit of heat, but I thought it was quite strange. After a while, I swapped that hideout for a Zen Habitats one. This one was brand new. I was sent it a while ago. Wouldn't have any gecko pheromones on, so I thought, let's go, let's try this. And almost overnight, he started using outside of the tank. He started openly basking, using the heat. Just, I can't believe that it is potentially this hide, the smell of Diego, that put him off using this side of the tank so much. And it's for good reason. If he could smell another male and it was in the cave, he could potentially go in there, and you know, a lot of confrontations between two male leopard geckos is a fight to the death. So totally respect Maui's reasonings, but I just found it so wild how much his overall behaviour changed by just changing one hide. So if you think that could be a reason, then go for it. Now, if you've got to the end of this video and you're like, hang on, I am doing everything correct, but my gecko's still hiding, I'm here to say that is completely normal. I actually filmed the geckos this morning on the day I'm wrapping up this video, and you'll be able to see that not one of my leopard geckos is out. Maui went through that phase of openly basking for about a week or two, just on and off, and now he is hidden away because he's probably gathered all the vitamin D3 he needs. Minnie often cryptic basks, and Gizmo and Diego hide quite a bit. Occasionally I'll see Diego basking. I think Gizmo probably basks during the morning, but you'd think they're not getting anything, but they've had UV for a good number of years now. They've never had a health problem regarding a lack of vitamin D3, so they obviously know what they're doing. And if you've gone from a dark tank with no UV and you've introduced a UV lamp and now you're like, oh, they're hiding away all the time now, I can't see them during the day, that may suck for you, but the leopard gecko is probably now living more naturally than it did before, so it will benefit them. And if you are looking for a pet that you can observe and interact with during the day, then a leopard gecko probably isn't for you. And maybe I'm just used to this because I've owned leopard geckos for like 16 years now, but I leave them during the day, I leave them to it. Obviously everything's on timers and thermostats and they're all good, but I mainly interact with them at night when they're most active. So I hope this video has helped. If you like this kind of thing, please subscribe. But thank you for watching, guys, and goodbye.